Good day everyone, I am Aljan May Barrias from Bachelor of Science in Criminology, 3rd year Section B. Today, I'm going to discuss the outline of pages 21 to 40 of Forensic 103 Question Document Examination. The first thing that I'm going to discuss is the standards or exemplars. Standards. They are known writings which indicates how a person writes. Exemplars. Specimen of the writing of the suspects are commonly known as exemplars. The difference between standards and exemplars were the standard is a general term referring to all authenticated writings of the suspects, while exemplars refers more especially to a specimen of standard writing offered in evidence or obtained or requested for comparison with the questioned writing. Samples. A selected representative portion of the whole is known as samples. The next thing that I'm going to discuss were the types of handwriting standards. The first types of handwriting standards was collected standards. Collected standards are known or genuine handwriting of individual, such as signature, endorsement, or canceled checks, and more. The second is requested standards. Requested standards are signature or other handwritings or handprintings written by an individual upon request for the purpose of comparison with the other handwriting or for specimen for purposes. Last types of handwriting standards is post litem motan exemplars. These are writings produced by the subject after evidential writing have come into dispute and solely for the purpose of establishing contentions. So here are some sources of signatures written in course of daily affairs. First is canceled check. Second, signature cards for saving, checking and charge accounts in safe deposit boxes. Third is credit applications and card. Fourth, signature on sales slip, on job order slips, requisition slips, and purchase slips. Next is court records and affidavit. Next is passport, marriage application, license, and affidavit. Seventh is driver, automobile, and other types of license application. Next is application for gas, electricity, water, and telephone services. Next is loan applications and receipts. Next is records from currency exchange, check cashing agencies, and pawn shop. 11th is timesheets, payroll, pay receipts, and personal forms. 12th is barangay registration, petitions. 13th is signature for certain drug purchase, hotel registrations. Next is church, club, and professional society record. Next is veteran records. Next is fingerprint records. 17, school or university class records and cards. 18th, application for firearms and license. 19th, application for export and import and dollar allocations. 2020, ID cards. So here are some procedures on how to prepare and collect handwriting standards. These are the factors to consider in the selection of standards. First is the amount of standard written. In signature, it is required 5 to 25 samples of signature. In writing, usually 4 or 5 pages of natural writing. Second is the similarity of subject matter. Third is relative dates of the question and the standard writing. Standard signature or writing must be those written 5 years before or 5 years after the date of the questioned signature of writing. Fourth is the condition under which both the questioned and the standard are prepared. Fifth is the writing instrument and papers. So here are some procedures on how to get requested and dictated standards. First is material must be dictated to the suspect or suspects. Second is carefully selected the dictated that do not dictate the entire content of the anonymous letter. Third is adequate amount of writing must be included. Fourth is some portion of the dictation should be repeated at least 3 times. Fifth, writing instrument and paper should be similar to those used in preparing the question document. Sixth is the dictation should be interrupted at intervals. Lastly, normal writing conditions should be arranged. So, what are the indications of disguise in writing? The more common disguise are the following: abnormally large writing, abnormally small writing, alteration in slant, usually backhand, usually variation in slant within a single unit of writing within a single signature, printed forms instead of cursive forms. Next is diminution in the usual speed of writing. Then lastly, unusual widening or restriction of lateral spacing. Kinds of disguises. First is change of slant from right to left or vice versa. Then second is change of letter either from cursive to black style or vice versa. Third is change from cursive conventional style to block form or vice versa. Fourth is change of style from small to big or vice versa. Then next is deteriorating one's handwriting. Sixth is the using the wrong hand. Evidence of alcoholic intoxication in handwriting includes bizarre letter forms, greatly enlarged writing, illegible forms in writing generally. Fourth is an uneven baseline. Fifth is meaningless blobs or extraneous stroke in writing. Sixth is inconsistency in slant of writing. Seventh is inconsistency in the form of repeated letters. Investigation and detailed examination of signature. Signature. It is the name of the person written by him or her in a document as a sign of acknowledgement. Forgery. Forgery is, strictly speaking, legal term which involves not only a non-genuine document but also an intent room. However, it is used synonymously with fraudulent signature or spurious document. Spurious signature. A fraudulent signature in which there was no apparent attempt at stimulation or limitation. Trace forgery. Any fraudulent signature which was executed by actually following the outline of genuine signature. Simulated or freehand imitation forgery. A fraudulent signature which was executed purely by simulation rather than the outline of a genuine signature can be referred as a freehand imitation or simulated forgery. Anachronism. The sometimes wrong is time and in place. This means that the forger has trouble matching the paper, ink, or writing materials to the exact date it was supposed to have been written. Guided signature. A signature which is executed while the writer's hand or arm is steadied in any way is classified as guided or assisted signature. Signature was defined as a name or mark that a person puts at the end of the document, at least that he is its author or that he ratifies it its content. There are three types of signature. First is formal or conventional or copybook form signature. It is a signature that is correct and complete use in signing important documents. Second is informal or cursory signature. It is a type of signature that is cursory or customary, used in signing routine documents and personal correspondence. Then lastly is careless scribble signature. It is a signature that is scribbled for the mail carrier, delivery boy, or the autograph collector. Genuine signature, which was Written refuses to admit not genuine. Generally, the indications of forgery are the presence of tremors, retouching, and poor line quality. When these are not present, but instead the obvious feature are the one absent, and provided that the minute details are present or correctly reproduced. Genuine signature deliberately modified. Examination of this kind of signature is confident discovered that the modification is only on the prominent feature of the letter designs that are pointed out by disclaimer while the rest appear to be normal. Forged signature without the attempt to a copy genuine model known as spurious. This kind of forgery is easily detected as fraudulent in view of the fact that it is widely different from the other genuine signature, even appearance alone. So there are two types of forged signature without the attempt to a copy. Characteristics principle can be stated that supply most cases. First is pen pressure, second is movement, third is proportion, next is unusual distortion of the forms of letter. Next is inconspicuous characteristics. Next is repeated characteristics. Then lastly is the characteristics written with speed. So here are some indications of genuineness. First is carelessness. Second is spontaneity. Third is alteration of thick and thin strokes. Fourth is speed. Fifth is simplification. Sixth is upright letters are interpressed with starting letters. Seventh is the upward strokes to a thread-like tracing. Eight is rhythm. Nine is good line quality. And 10 is variation. Three classes of forged signature. First is simulated signature, the freehand drawing in imitation of model signature. So simulated signature have two types, which was simulated with the model before the forger and simulated freehand forgery. So simulated with the model before the forger have had also two types, which was direct technique. Forger works directly with ink, and indirect technique, forger work first the pencil and afterwards cover the pencil strokes with ink. Next types of forged signature is trace signature. Trace signature, it is a tracing of a genuine signature outline. So it has also its type, which was direct tracing. Copy is made, transmitted light. Then second is indirect tracing. Forger uses a carbon paper and place document on which he will trace the forged signature under the document bearing the model signature with carbon between the two. Types of traces signature. First is carbon process. Second is indentation process. Then lastly is transmitted light process. Forgery. Forgery is strictly a legal term which involves not only a non-genuine document but also an intent to fraud. However, it is also synonymously with fraudulent signature or spurious document. Kinds of forgery. First is simple forgery. Forgery does not try to copy a model but writes with something resembling we ordinarily call a signature. Next is simulated forgery. It is a copy or imitation of a signature of a person or the suspect merely signs the name in his name and use another signature and possess the document before the fraud discovered. Trace forgery. It is the result it is result it is the result or an attempt to transfer in a fraudulent document an exact facsimile of a signature by tracing process. Cut and paste forgery is created when the authentic signature are misused by means of photocopies or computer scanners. Indications of forgery, simulated and trace. First is tremulous and broken connecting strokes between letters, indicating points at which the writer temporarily struck. No rhythm. Next is carefulness or unusual care and deliberation. Fourth is no contract between upward and downward stroke. Next is slow writing, angular writing. Next is blunt beginning and endings. Next is placement of diacritical marks just over the stem of letters. Next is absence of spontaneity, lack of smoothness of letters. Next is restrained writing. Then lastly is no variation. Indications of simple forgery. Writing habits of the writer, which includes his general and individual characteristics. So, indications of forgery by means of stamp facsimile of a genuine signature. First is flat stroke. Second is no contract between upstrokes and downstroke. Next is deposit of ink at the junction of two strokes or with two strokes cross each other. Next is no variation. All signature will superposes over each other. Indications of genuineness. First is habitual speed of writing. Next, firmness of stroke. Next indication of genuineness is degree of skill. Next is pattern of shading and emphasis. Next is fundamentals muscular movement. Next is coordination, continuity, and freedom. Forgery, counterfeiting, and falsification. A counterfeiting, it is the crime of making, circulating, or uttering false coins and banknotes. Then falsification, it is the act of making the contents of a document not the intended content. Forgery, it is the act of falsely making or materially altering with intent to defraud. Alteration, it is the act of changing the meaning of the document. Erasure. It is the act of changing the meaning of the document by means of removing some parts of the document, mechanical or chemical. Obliteration. It is by spilling ink on a document to hide parts the forgery doesn't not want to be seen. Addition, any matter made a part of the document after its original preparation. Interlineations. The term insertion includes the addition of writing and other material between lines or paging, or the addition of whole page to a document. Superimposition. After accomplished by covering or smearing over or overlaying the original writing. These are the common errors in alteration. First is the spelling, punctuation, paragraphing, numbers, incorrect use of words, capital letters, division of words, title, incorrect abbreviations, and incorrect address. Alteration in typewritten documents. The following procedure will be found practicable. First is machine, second is ink density, then third is alignment. Cylun. In about 105 AD, the first to succeed in making paper from vegetable fibers, tree barks, rags, old fish nettings. Chlorine. It was introduced in 19th century for bleaching, and colored linen could already manufacturers for paper. Esparto, a grass grown in Libya, also in Spain and North Africa, was first introduced in England in 1861. Straw was used to make paper in 1800s. Sulfite, paper from wood was not attempted until 1869, and paper called sulfite or modern type was first used between 1680 and 1890. Oldest manuscript. Letters dated AD 875 AD have been found in Egypt, and the oldest manuscript in England on cotton paper dated 1890 AD. Writing materials in question document. So, to fully understand the principles of tracing the age of writing materials used in question documents, it is imperative for a question document examiner to be aware of the evolution and development of papers. Paper. It is a sheet of interlaced fiber, usually cellulose fiber from plants, but sometimes from cloth, range, or other fibrous materials. Writing materials. The evolution of writing materials culminated in the development of paper. Papyrus came into use about 3500 BC. People of Egypt, Palestine, Syria, and southern Europe used the pith, soft, spongy tissue of the stem of the edge grass-like herb Cyperus papyrus to make a writing material known as papyrus. Parchment. Writing materials made from skin of animals, primarily of sheep, calves, or goats. Vellum. Writing materials from fine skins from young calves or kids, and the term name was often used for all kind of parchment manuscripts. Development of paper manufacturing. It is widely claimed that invention of paper is generally attributed to a Chinese court official. So here are some bases in the examination of paper. First is the color. Color can be well appreciated with good light, tint, stain, or fading. Second is surface appearance. It may be smooth or rough, damaged or wrinkled. Next is watermarks. Exposure of the paper to a strong light may reveal the watermarks of the manufacturer or type of the paper. Fourth is weight and thickness. The thickness may be measured by means of the paper micrometer. Papers are designated in weight, which shows thickness of the sheet. Here are some other ways on how to trace the age of the paper or the document. First is the watermarks. It is sometimes a limit may be placed to the age of document by means of watermarks. Then second is the discoloration. Discoloration is it is one way of tracing the age of the paper is through the observance of the changes in its physical characteristic, particularly discoloration. So here are some causes of discoloration. First is due to process of oxidation brought about by natural means. Second is brown spots due to molds that are very characteristic both in appearance and distribution. Third is exposure to dew and dirt. Fourth is occasional staining of fruit juice or grease. Fifth is excrete of rats, mice, and other insects. Six is may also due to heat, partial burning, and etc. Under the types of or causes of discoloration, number 6, which was due to heat, writing instrument, pens. Pen is a tool for writing or drawing with a colored fluid such as ink. There are these types of pen. First is quill pen. It is a hollow part of large feather, usually from goose, and was used writing on parchment. Second is Reed pen or swamp reed. It came from specially selected water grasses found in Egypt, Armenia, and along shores of Persian Gulf. The ballpoint pen. John Lodd in 1888 patented the first ballpoint writing tool. It is a ballpoint pen has in its point a small rotating metal ball that continually inks itself as it turns. Other writing instruments and their characteristics. Stylographic type. It is advertised in 1970. It is being used by artists and draftsmen. A rotatable pen. A pen with a rotating ball conceived in 1888 and placed on the market in 1895. A ballpoint pen. It was first produced in its modern form in Prague in 1935 and 1938 in Hungary. Reynolds pen. It was first successfully marketed in New York. It is an invention of Milton Reynolds in 1945. Liquid lead pen. It is a ballpoint with an erasable graphite ink introduced in 1955 but phased out during the early 1960s. Roller ball pen. A ballpoint with a free-flowing ink similar to that is used in fountain pens introduced in late 1979. Ink. It is a colored liquid or paste used for writing. Common compositions of inks are copperas, which was hydrated ferrous sulfate, tannin, and iron gallontanate ink. So here are some other compositions and characteristics of ink. First is Indian inks, second is Lagwood inks, third is iron gallontanate inks, fourth is fountain pen inks, fifth is dry stuff ink, sixth is water resistant writing and drawing inks, seven is alkaline writing inks, eight is ballpoint pen inks, nine is stamp pad inks. 10th is hectograph inks, 11th is typewriter ribbon inks, 12 is printing inks, 13 is canceling inks, and 14 is script ink. So once again, I am Aljan May Barrios from Bachelor of Science in Criminology, 3rd year section B, and that was my discussion on the outline of pages 21 to 40 of Forensic 103 question document examination.